But one of the reasons Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed was because Sodom and Gomorrah was thought to be a place that was filled with children of God who were disobedient. Not children of God who were obedient. It was thought to be filled with the people who were living in ways that were disobedient to God's way.
Right.
And so there is a consequences God is made his children aware of, that there is a price
Right.
for living disobedient to God. Go over to Hosea with me, please. 4, and let the Bible speak for us. Let me have a reader at Hosea 4, verse 1.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land.
This is Hosea, the prophet of God. He is talking to, directing these comments to God's people. God's people are the children of Israel. And so he's basically saying God has a problem with the children of Israel. Now remember, there are two types of children that God has. Those that are obedient and those that are what? Disobedient. Okay. Disobedient. So he's saying the Lord has a controversy with the people of the land. So which children is he talking about? The Lord is talking about not obedient children. He's saying I have a controversy, or I have a problem with disobedient children. My children. And a parent can talk that way. A parent can talk that way. I have a problem with the way that this child or these children are behaving. I don't have a problem with the way that this other child or these other children are behaving. A parent can talk that way.
Right.
So God, through the prophet Hosea, is saying to them, I have a problem with the behavior, with the values, ethics that are being displayed by my children, a certain subgroup of my children.
Right.
That's what he is saying here. Now, let's watch how this unfolds. Continue reading, please.
By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood.
So listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying God is seeing from heaven about the way that people are doing what? Are they doing this to themselves? No. They're doing it to other people, aren't they? Now, what are the two greatest commandments?
Love the Lord.
Love the Lord is the first one. And then the second one is love thy neighbor, isn't it? As thyself. In other words, God is concerned about us showing love for him, and he's concerned about us showing love for others.
Right.
Just like we love ourselves.
Right.
So would you beat yourself up, hit yourself in the face, hit yourself in the gut, throw yourself down on the ground? Would you lie, cheat, steal from yourself? Would you hurt yourself, harm yourself? Would you talk down on yourself? Would you make yourself look bad? Would you try to embarrass yourself? Would you lie? Would you steal? Would you take from yourself? Would you kill yourself? So if the answer is no to all those things, then the Lord is saying you should not, if you are obeying my word, you should not want to do that to other people who are in your vineyard.
Right.
But he's saying it's happening. These things are happening. And if God is seeing these things happening, those children of his who are participating in these things and are living this way. Remember, God has given us time and what? Place.
Place, yeah.
Time and place is what God gives us each day. Right now, everybody has right at this very second, time and place that God has given us. What do we say the definition of situation is?
All the facts, conditions, and events that affect someone or something at a particular time, a particular place.
At a particular time and a particular place. All of the facts that affect the person at a particular time and a particular place. All of the conditions, all of the events that affect a person at a particular time and a particular place. So who gives us particular time and particular place?
The Lord.
The Lord gives us that because he gives us something that we call what? Life. He clothes us in our right mind every day, doesn't he?
Right.
He gives us a chance to wake up this morning with our hearing, with our ability to see, with our ability to smell, with our ability to taste, to be able to use our arms, to be able to use our legs. And when we've been gifted and given that kind of grace and that kind of blessing, what the Bible is saying, God has given us an opportunity at life.
Right.
Well, what about some that don't have all those things? Whatever they do have, they still have an opportunity at life with what they do have. If a person cannot see, that still doesn't stop their life completely if they have their ability to use their arms and legs, and they can hear, they can taste, they can eat, they still can function in other ways, so life totally is not taken from them. They still can function. They can still come up with a list of to-dos based on what they have.
Right.
Why is this important? Because God is saying, this is my grace that I'm extending to you.
Right.
And if I'm extending this grace to you so that you can come up with your list of to-dos, if you use that time and place, the situation that you're in, to create what's in verse 2, you are a disobedient child, and you are on my wrong side. That's what God is saying. If that's all you can think to use the time and place that I've given you, the situation that you're in, is to create other things that further violate my law, which is to love thy neighbor as thyself. If that's all you can use, if that's the extent of your creativity, your ideas is to degrade or down or talk down about other people. If you can't use your time more productively than to do those things, then you are on my wrong side. That's what the prophet is telling the children of Israel. You are on God's wrong side. No matter who you are, no matter what you have. It didn't matter whether you were the chief priest. It didn't matter whether you were the head of a family. It wouldn't matter whether you were the head of the community. It didn't matter if you were the king.
Right.
This applied to everybody. Continue reading, please.
Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Yet let no man strive nor reprove another, for thy people are as they that strive with the priests. Therefore,
in other words, he's saying that by living this way, you're going to make life for everything else around you worse. Now, there's been talk, we're not on this today, but there's been talk about man living on the earth and making life on the earth worse, the way that things work naturally worse because of man's behaviors, because of the way that man has been acting on the earth. And you hear this conversation around global warming. It's attributed to how man has been acting on the earth. That's what the Bible is talking about here. Not global warming, but it's talking about man's behavior. This disobedient behavior leads to other things being imbalanced.
Right.
That's what the Bible is talking about. Being affected, negatively affected. And so the Lord is trying to help us understand. He's saying, but this is happening because there are people who should be coaching you and leading you in the right way are not coaching you and leading you in the right way.
Exactly.
And in the scripture specifically, he speaks about the priest. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Right.
Continue reading, please.
Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, And the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother.
So listen to what he's saying.
Continue.
Listen to the people that he identified. He identified the priest and he identified the prophet.
Right.
The priest and the prophet. Why is the Lord only talking about the role that the priest plays and the prophet plays? Well, the reason is because the priest is the responsibility for teaching you what God said, teaching you, encouraging you to be obedient to the word. That's the priest's responsibility. But the priest is not following that standard. The priest is following some other gray area standard.
Right.
In addition to what God said, which is not pleasing to God. The prophet is not giving people, which is the conduit, which is the voice of God, from God to the people, is not giving the people what God said, is not listening for what God desired. So you cut off from yourself from hearing me.
Right.
And because you cut yourself off from hearing me, what happens is that your life continues to crumble. So that's why he said the next few things. Continue, please.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I would also forget thy children.
Listen to what he said. He's saying that you have rejected me, my people. Because you rejected me, my people are not getting the teachings, not getting the guidance that I expect for them to get from you. And because they're further falling into what verse 2 talks about. They're mistreating each other in the name of survival. They are trying to better outdo one another, even to the point of killing people, wrongfully killing people. They are doing any and everything that they can to outdo their neighbor. And so what he's saying, because of this, that means that they're not connecting with my word. Well, I'm expecting the priest and the prophet, I'm expecting you to be the conduit that make you the conscience of my people.
Right.
I don't expect you to condone what they do, knowing that it's against my will. And if you condone what they do, knowing that it's against my will, then you are no good to me.
Right.
Because you cut off the voice of reason from my people that I put in place. This is what he's telling them. So therefore, the prophet is useless, and therefore the priest is useless.
Right.
And my people won't be able to get what I desire through those voices, and therefore they will be destroyed because they lack the right knowledge to make the right decisions about how to live in life.
Right.
They've been cut off. Essentially, think about it as if God gives an answer for a problem that a person has, and God gives that answer to a prophet, and that prophet does not give that answer to the person that God intends for it to be, will that person ever get the answer? No. That's what the Lord is saying is happening, and what that person will begin to do. They're going to do what they think is best.
Right.
Well, where do they get what is best part from? What they see other people doing in their society.
Exactly.
And if they see other people in their vineyard doing wrong and ugly things, they're going to think, well, I can do wrong and ugly things because that's what everybody else is doing. And then their life gets even worse because they realize the wrong and ugly things wasn't the answer either.
Right.
they've turned away from God.
Amen.
And that's why the Lord said, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Not that God is not willing and able to provide what they need, is they're being destroyed because they're not even hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
They've not even expressed an interest in it. God means that none of the children of Israel are faithful to him.
Mm-hmm.
The same behavior is with the world today. Many are living without God's grace because they rejected God's will.
Right.
What is right and what is true. That's what they've rejected. What is right and what is true. So when people do things that don't make sense, that's not fair, when people say things that don't add up, it's because they have rejected that which is right and what is true.
Right.
When you have people who reject what is right and what is true, those people are choosing a way that dishonors the Lord, because the Lord has ways that are right and true. The Lord encourages his children who say they follow him to follow ways that are what? Right. And true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not negotiable. It's not, I can be right and true sometime. No, it's the way of life of those who would follow God to be right and true. So if anybody who says they follow God don't adhere to ways that are right and true, that don't treat their neighbors the way that they expect to be treated, then they are not followers of God. They are what Jesus called hypocrites.
Oh, praise be to God, from whom all blessings flow. It is our prayer at Clay Family Ministries that your life has been increased with the increase of God through this study. We appreciate and are thankful for your fellowship during this life skills study segment.